nature's great vessel skillfully navigating through time, with your wise, ageless skipper at the helm. And we, your modest and wearying crew, not fully grasping the reason for our voyage, not realizing that the journey creates us, that we become the frontiers we cross, unaware that the strait never sleeps.
The salvage of the beached bulk carrier OS-35 is to begin, with logistical planning underway. Camp Bay and Little Bay closed after an oil spill from the tanker Gas Venus. A response operation is underway as heavy fuel oil washes up on shore.
What we've got to remember is that the AM Ghent was in February 21. The OS-35 was in August 2022. And this is now the latest one, 2023. It's 3 in a row. Whilst it's not a long-term trend by any means, it's worrying.
Our wounded planet licks its wounds. How did we get it wrong again? Another flaw in the design? Must we always overstep, go a step too far? Always inching beyond, misjudging, taking irrational risks for unknown returns? Or have we just made too many unreasonable assumptions all along? Once again, it's time to tidy up the mess and move on.
The Strait of Gibraltar, a strategic choke point linking the Atlantic and the Mediterranean seas, witnesses thousands of ship passages daily. But in August 2022, a catastrophic collision thrust one vessel, the OS-35, into the icy grip of disaster. The OS-35 collides with Adam LNG, a tanker carrying liquefied natural gas. The impact tears a gash into the OS-35's hull, spewing fuel and raising fears of an environmental catastrophe. With its engine disabled, the OS-35 faces the threat of sinking. A desperate decision was made. She is deliberately beached on the eastern shore, a gamble to prevent her from foundering into deeper waters. Months turned into a year. The stern is successfully lifted, but the rest remains stubbornly grounded. A new plan emerges, a radical one. The OS-35 will be cut into pieces, a daunting feat of maritime engineering. Finally, in November 2023, the last fragment of the OS-35 is lifted and hauled away. The ordeal is over. The strait breathes a sigh of relief. The story of the OS-35 is a testament to human ingenuity and resilience in the face of adversity. It is a stark reminder that the delicate balance between maritime trade and environmental protection in one of the world's busiest waterways.
This area in particular is more or less where the OS-35 was grounded, which was a difficult time for us in terms of all the work that was, all the counter-pollution work that was carried out, and also the surveillance work that was carried out in terms of monitoring any impacts on wildlife, on seabirds in particular. And we relied a lot on the network of wildlife observers that were feeding us information on a daily basis. And we were ready in case things took a turn for the worse. Eventually the hull broke and it started to seep oil into the marine environment, and that's where the Gibraltar Port Authority obviously implemented their contingency plans, and the department formed a critical part of that work in terms of ensuring that the impacts to the environment were minimized. And we practically dedicated all our assets, all our marine assets, to working with the spill. So at the moment, because as you can see, the wreck was completely removed, and that was a really, really significant achievement.
Marine and digital technologies have transformed our ports and sea routes, the way we plan ahead, how our vessels navigate, the way sea cargo moves across our planet. But whatever the algorithms, we still make the key decisions. Much of our dirty handling of the planet still needs to be seriously addressed. Our decisions are not backed by coordinated action and commitment.
So we're here at Roja Bay, and we are tackling the oil spill from the gas Venus. There was an overflow from refueling activities, and that overflow has ended up washing up here at Roja Bay and along the rocks on one side and close to the marine protected area on the other. So we're here to try and minimize the impact of the oil on the marine ecosystem. Is enough being done in bunkering? I'm not an expert on this in order to answer as an expert, but what is apparent is that there's a bunkering port across the way, and there's a bunkering port across the straits, and certainly in the last 10 years, living memory, I can't think of a massive oil spill that has occurred on that side that we have had to endure because of that. So, I think that the last 3 years have been uncharacteristically high in oil spills and hitting the same area. I think we need to be looking at doing more.
I don't think there's too much to it. It's tedious, it takes its time, and it is hard. It's very hard. It feels like it doesn't come off.
And although it doesn't appear as if too much is being done, because the oil is still evident on the surface of the rock because of the staining, what we're trying to do is we're trying to remove the excess that could be washed off back into the sea, and that's important to in terms of that vertical mixing of the oil and in the filter feeders that might be affected by that oil. Over the weekend, the Departments of the Environment, Brightside, JBS and a few other organisations have actually had to remove the rocks that were here because the oil was so thick, it was right the way under the rock, and it was impossible to clean. In fact, we noticed the first few days that we were cleaning, on Tuesday and on Wednesday of that week, we cleaned a certain area, it was starting to look better. And when the southwest came in, it turned all the oil, and by the time you came the next day, it looked like nobody had been here at all.
It's mostly debris that we found in between the rocks, like rubbish and plastic, which is covered in oil. And also we have pads that go on top of the surface of water, which again, they absorb oil. So this is just all the waste.
You can't really. I mean, you try to, get it off them and stuff like that, but we try our best to do what we do, and you know, sometimes you just can't get all of it off the creatures and stuff like that.
One of the questions that was brought up to me by one of the Nautilus volunteers was how do we reduce the risk of bunkering? And for me, the answer's obvious. It's like smoking. How do you reduce the risk of lung cancer? Well, you stop smoking. That's how you reduce the risk of lung cancer. And if we're going to be bunkering, this is going to be a reality that we're going to be facing ongoing. You can never eliminate the risk of this happening again as long as bunkering continues. Like with plastic pollution, the ones that are driving the change in Gibraltar are the kids. And why? Because to them, it's a no-brainer. They see the damage that plastic pollution is doing. They come to the beaches, they learn about it in school, they come to the beaches, they clean it up. And what's happening in the summertime is we're getting loads of pictures of parents saying that, look at my children. They've gone round, they've cleaned up a whole area, they've come with a... That's what we need. We need more of that. And actually giving children an experience to witness the reality of an oil spill is actually quite a powerful tool, because it's not a picture on a book where you're looking at an oil spill. Here, your shoes are in the oil, you're smelling the oil, you're seeing how difficult it is to clean. It's a whole different learning experience, which my hope is that if any good can come out of this, is that some of these kids will go forward and then say, actually, is this something that we really want in our future?
For too long, we've been blowing bubbles, seeking and protecting loopholes, exploiting blind spots. Our different interests pulling us in different directions. Too many crucial decisions end up on the back burner.
My trip to Norway, up in the north of Norway, Arctic Circle. You know, be able to share that experience and the privilege. So we just set out to go and see what would appear. It's a very humbling experience because you are purely exposed to the elements, firstly. Secondly, you're entering their environment on their terms. And it's the minute that they look at you and they're swimming and they don't lose eye contact and you feel an intense connection with them. And you're pretty much at their mercy, but they are looking at you in a way that they're studying you. And you can see that they're clearly assessing you. Because by the way that they move their heads up and down, it's almost that they're trying to understand what it is that you're doing. And once they've satisfied, it's almost like they're evaluating you, understanding to see if you're a threat. And when they realize that you're not a threat, they actually just carry on and, you know, display whatever, you know, carry on by the swimming, interacting. And you see a beautiful footage that, with regards to the head-to-head interaction and playfulness of the orcas, and they were just a meter or two from me. And all I had was a little weight belt and a GoPro stick. And these orcas are big. And when you have them a meter or two in the water with you, you know, they command respect, a lot of respect. But they're amazing. It really is a privilege to be in their presence. To a certain extent, people travel because other places have received a lot of exposure. I think we're very privileged. It really is something special. It really truly is something special. And we've got it at our doorstep. So there's a few friends of ours that head out to the Straits, and this was on the back end of my trip to Norway. And we always felt that having the privilege of having the orcas so close by and never seeing it, that one would have to travel so far away in such harsh climates.
The strait is a narrow waterway that separates Spain and Morocco, and the meetings are not always gentle. Just last month, killer whales surrounding a boat sailing through the Strait of Gibraltar.
A group of orcas, better known as killer whales, they appear to be attacking and even sinking some boats off the coasts of Portugal and Spain.
The question this morning, why?
Yeah. And there'd been such a big hype about the media with regards to negative publicity concerning the orcas. To a certain extent, I wanted to demonstrate that that was not the case, because I had already shared that experience in Norway. Not at any point did I feel threatened in any shape or form, even at times when I was surrounded by juvenile orcas, which generally, you know, the mother tends to be a little bit more protective. We head out with a couple of friends, with Nicholas and Lewis, and we were lucky. There was a lot of tuna.
Ahí cerquita de la ola.
There was a lot of fishing boats out there, and the orcas were essentially only interested in the tuna. Twice we were approached by orcas, and I just lay down on the platform, grabbed a mask, and still on the boat, but put my head under so I could gauge more or less where they were coming from. And I had my GoPro on a stick, and you can see in the footage as the orca looks at me, turns upside down to get a closer look and an inspection of the boat, check out the deck, saw that we didn't have any tuna, and we weren't a sailing boat and had no interest whatsoever. It just curiously looked at us from a distance and very peacefully and gently swam away.
It was 2008 when I had some friends over from the UK wanting to dive with blue sharks in the med side. Because of the wind, we weren't able to go there. We decided to go look for pilot whales in the Straits. So basically we headed out to the Straits, we found the pilot whales. We spent the whole afternoon with the pilot whales, something that hasn't been seen before by a lot of people. They took videos, they took underwater footage. They talked about it when they got back. That's where it all started.
One of the things that came out of that trip, which really surprised myself and AJ, was that Chris and Danny and Drew are all very experienced whalemen, and they've dived with whales all over the world. And they were raving about Nick's uncanny ability to find the whale so quickly.
The year after that, we had marine biologists, people very big in the underwater photography world. They actually described it as the Serengeti of the oceans. On our first group, one of the guys that came was a guy called Andrew Sutton. He made a short documentary. Basically, it was to create awareness and try to protect the pilot whales in the Faroe Islands. But of course, the getting footage of pilot whales in the Faroe Islands was very difficult for him. And he just came to Gib, and within a couple of days he had all the footage that he needed to do this documentary. That came out, I think it was 2015. It was narrated by David Attenborough.
And as more and more underwater cameramen and stills photographers have worked with Nick over the years, he's gained this reputation as really being the go-to guy for working with pilot whales. And, you can see that reflected in Andrew Sutton's film Brindlebar.
And from him, I met another guy that I now consider to be a good friend, Ran Levi Yamamori. He contacted Andrew Sutton because he knew about his documentary, and he came over they both came over one year, and we got out to the Straits, and he was able to film all he wanted or he needed, and that film was called Bridge in Troubled Waters. And again, it's another documentary also trying to protect the whales in the Faroe Islands. And he got more in a week here than in a few days here than what he had done in years. So it's a very unique place, and although I don't see it as so important, but to these people who live in that world, they recognize it as it is. It is so important to everything. There's so much stuff that goes on.
I think it's really important to publicise what goes on in the Straits. People protect what they care about, and many Gibraltarians are completely aware of what really happened in that superhighway that's feeding past the rock. Now, what you've done with your series, The Strait Never Sleeps, what the guys at the university, what Clive is doing, and what Lewis is doing, especially working with Nick, with the pole cam, showing people the pilot whales, showing them the orcas, it's very important. Now, hopefully, with the films that Andrew has made and Rand has made, that is starting to create interest with the major wildlife companies, and there are a number of programs that are in pre-production that I'm hoping will take an interest in working in the Straits.
As you shed light on what once was hidden from us and unseen, the unthinkable is being achieved with your tireless activism. The striking and unforgettable images of the deep you share with us are helping to shape better policies and urgent actions that are required. Years ago, Cousteau saw it very clearly and said, "The sea, the great unifier, is our only hope." We must do much more to protect and care for the sea, for it is nothing else but a vital extension of ourselves. We are mid-song, so much more remains to be unraveled. Our exciting journey must continue. Just a brief stop will be required. We'll be back before long. Yes, we'll be back before long.